Thanks for staying with us. So there are so many issues surrounding the country at the moment, and this is one way, and one way or the other, it affects the Nigerian child. Now, from the issue of abduction to kidnapping to molestation, these are various things women and children go through. So we ask, it's Children's Day. Have we really improved the laws protecting our children? Joining us on the show now is a child rights advocate, parenting enthusiast, and life coach, Dr. Nimi Ekere. Welcome to the show, madam.
Thank you, Mariah.
Good to have you on the show.
Good to be here.
I know we like to celebrate children today, which is absolutely what we're going to do today. But it's also an important day to remind ourselves of what can be done and what have we done so far to protect our children. In your work as a child rights advocate, do you think we have actually made some important strides in this issue of protection, or there's still a long way to go in protecting rights of children?
Thank you for that question. I think we have a long way to go. So I'll give you reasons, and maybe at the end of the day, you'll draw your conclusions. First of all, UNICEF carried out a survey in 2020, and it states that Nigeria has the highest number of children that are out of school. So as we speak, we have the highest number of out-of-school children. 3.2 million children are out of school right now, aged 10 to 14 years. So if they're out of school, what are they doing? Hawking, prostituting, and they're probably involved in kidnapping, I mean, they're all sorts of atrocities and vices. Right now, under 5 mortality, that's deaths from children, deaths that will call, 0 to 5, I mean, you are abreast. Nigeria is leading, and this is also based on the UNICEF finding of 2020. So children are dying from preventable causes like malaria, malnutrition, meningitis, things that are avoidable. We have the Child Rights Act. How many? She's a lawyer. She'll buttress this saying or this fact. How many children, how many states have adopted the Child Rights Act? Just 25. So we have 11 states that have not adopted it. And this was domesticated in Nigeria in 2003. So it's almost a decade. So what are we waiting for? Our children are not protected in any way. So if bringing it back home, like if I have to be practical, a child is abused and we make noise about it, we scream, we shout. After some time, it's swept under the carpet. The case goes moribund. The perpetrator is, maybe a big man with money, influence, and power, and suppresses the victim. So it just continues and continues. The cycle continues. People are abusing children, and then the children, in turn, grow up to be abusers. So we're just in a society that has not protected the children enough.
Right, Dr. Nimi, I worry because I'm a parent raising 3 kids. And, at the time I was growing up, things weren't as bad. They could leave us at home. We were able to take care of ourselves and handle ourselves very well. But right now, sometimes the abuse happens, and as a parent, you're not even aware because the children are not talking. So I want you to give us practical tips of how you can identify very early that something is happening to your child, and what steps are you meant to take? Because sometimes when you even identify, you don't know what to do, you don't know who to turn to, you don't tell family members, say, shh, shh, shh. You should be hidden within the family and all of that. How do you identify that something is happening, and what is the right step to take? First step, right step, steps to take.
Okay, that's a very good question. So a lot of parents are so busy, they have to make ends meet, things are so tough. In those days, price of food, we didn't have it we didn't have it this bad. Inflation wasn't this bad. Right now, you go to the market, you can't even buy anything. So parents are so busy and overwhelmed. They come back home, and the children are at the mercy of house helps, nannies. And so because of that, the children can't even, there's no relationship with the children. So the child is being abused, and they can't tell mommy, they can't tell daddy. Sometimes Mommy might even suspect that something is wrong, but she can't place her finger to it. And so, that's all. The child, it continues. So, back to your question, we have to pay attention to detail. You have to be close to your child. It doesn't matter how busy you are. there should be a way of striking a balance. Your child should be able to tell you everything. And then people we employ, have we done our checks? Some people are known abusers, and they come in and continue from where they stop.
Let's go back to the figures that you just read out of school children and children mortality in Nigeria. I'd say some states make efforts. So let's talk about what parents can do. Parents whose children are out of school, do they deliberately want their children to be educated, or they just leave them to our life? Because some people say society will raise you, streets will form you.
Yeah. So
they just leave their children. In Lagos State, for instance, they provided everything. I have some children that I stand for as guardian in public schools in Lagos all the time. My tax and family tax card is what they use. Their parents deliberately want their kids to go to school. About 3 of them, for this new set that I had to register, were registered because their parents wanted to have education, and they cannot afford to have a tax card. They don't have that line. I provided it. So that's a deliberate parent who cannot afford the private school, but they want education for their children. How many parents?
How do we reach to the ones that are not interested?
How do we reach out to those ones who are not even aware? And how do we get their minds, to get to that point where, they will take advantage of what the government has been able to provide? In the hospitals in Lagos, children care, pediatric care is free. Drugs are also free. You only register with 500 naira card. Even to the Federal Medical Center, I know for a fact because I take advantage of all of this. How many parents know? How do we get the information to them? What are we doing to get it?
I'd like you to answer that question in a minute, but the truth is, a parent, I think I'm not sure who was asking that same question recently, and the parent was telling the Lagos State official that was asking that question, don't you think it's important for your child to go to school? Why would you? Yeah, it was after the lockdown.
Okay.
The children were in school for a while, so now bringing them back was difficult. Many didn't come back. Many got pregnant. Things happened, and they were trying to go. Lagos State government now sound out officials to go around. Where are these children? Your children didn't come back to school. And the mother confronted one of the officials and said, "What is the education proposing? His older sister that went to school the other day, going to school, can't get a job. He's not back to be helping to blend pepper for me.
My God.
So what's the point? Why don't you just learn this trade with me? And there's no reason. So the value proposition of education, we need to either enforce it or find a way to present it again to these parents. Because many of them feel like there's no proposition. So in your work, let me just brought us our question. In your work, how do we make education attractive for parents in the lower care of society for them to get their
children? What can a parent like that? What can their children, even though they don't get the jobs that they so dream, what can they do with the education that they have?
Enlightenment. We still have to advocacy, enlightenment. We have to let them know. They see you on TV and they admire you. They want to be like you. Children admire, they have role models. So if you go
not everyone can be like us.
Yes, but you can be close. Yes, you can. At least you can live a good life. You can be. You can get there if you have the right education. Better. Yes, you can demand. And then, of course, we'll get to the federal level. We need jobs. There are graduates everywhere that are looking for jobs. So we need jobs. But at this level, let's make education rosy. And we talked about Lagos State government. How many states are like Lagos State?
Yeah.
How many states?
How many?
Right.
Okay, so the advocacy for education is very loud in Lagos and in a few developed states, but we have many undercaptured locations within Nigeria that are also very important. And there is urban migration, which means that if you don't catch them there, they would come to where you are and disturb you where you are. How do we get our governors to work together? Because currently I know that the major thing everybody's talking about is insecurity. How do we get our government to see that education is a way to fight insecurity? Because if they are well...
We take that answer after this break. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we still have our child rights advocates with us, Dr. Nimi. Toko, you had a question before the break.
Yes, so I was asking about the getting government's involvement, but I just realized that let's leave government and let's even leave the issue of education. One of the things that is really plaguing children more than ever in this season is abuse, is the sexual abuse. Considering all that has been trending in recent times, what can we, because a lot of people are watching right now, what can we do to protect our children more from these abuse? How do we spot it?
Okay, like that's the question she asked. We have to pay attention to detail as parents, know when your child is deviating from what they used to be in the past. A child that was boisterous, playful, becoming very quiet, that should be a red flag that something is wrong. A child that is not doing well academically, a child that was okay academically, now regressing, you should, as a parent, you should find out what's happening. A child that becomes
Dr.
very...
Nimi,
Yes.
there are some powerful people that abuse children, where maybe the mothers are disempowered, maybe they are the helps, and they are dependent on these powerful people, and they can't speak. So they are now having to choose between protecting my child or surviving, where the person who you are dependent on is the abuser. In that situation, what in your work, how do you help mothers like that to find protection, and even children like that? How do you protect people like that in that situation?
I must tell you, it's a very big problem. Let me give you an example, a quick example. A parent called me, she just lost her husband, and her son was gang raped in a school. So we know that her son in secondary school was gang raped, and according to him, they were masked. And a popular school. And, I, of course, wanted to give the child all the help that he needed. The mother was happy, but when I told the mother that we're going to name the school, that we're going to put the school out there, she started begging.
Why?
She was scared. A widow. And that's what we have in Nigeria. People are scared. Stigma is a problem. People wear silence like a badge of honor. And you don't blame them. Their fears are valid. People stigmatize victims. Sadly so. And so when you see someone with so much power and influence suppressing them or oppressing them, they don't want to speak up. So as an NGO, we try to, demystify this. Let people know that they have a voice. It doesn't matter your socioeconomic status, you have a voice.
So aside
and you can get the help that you need.
Naming the school now, what then can you now do for that child? Because of course, when you focus on the other, the child is the victim.
Yes, of course, the child is the most important person here. Child is priority. But you see, if we don't name the school, if we don't call out the school, if we don't go there to find out the perpetrators, worse things will be happening. And nobody, we got to hear this. How about the ones that are left unheard of? So I think that people should speak up. You don't blame them, but with what we have now, NGOs are doing their best, and I think that we need the government's collaboration. It's a multi-sectoral collaboration that we need. So, justice and help, and to shield them. It's enough to get justice, but when the victims are not protected, they could go behind to kill them. They could go behind to do all sorts. So we need that collaboration.
The child welfare unit within the police and the family support unit, what role do they play?
How have you seen them?
How do they assist you in your work?
They try, but I must say that sometimes they can be funny. I went to see a child. They called me to see a child that was abused on the island, and I went there, and some of the officers were asking for money to fuel their cars.
That's the Nigerian
to fuel
story.
their cars, and I had to go to the big man, and I said, I will not pay a dime. I will not. We have to do these things for our children. Because your child is not involved does not make you apathetic. You shouldn't be apathetic to the plight of the next child, because your child could still be involved.
So I want to know how much awareness your NGO and other NGOs are creating, because the truth is, some women would like to report some of these issues anonymously because of situations of maybe the abuser is the benefactor and all of that. But they do not know who to call on, where to go to. We don't open our television and see if so thing happens, call this number. Like we have outside the country where you don't even need to know the person. You just silently report and then the body takes over. So how much awareness are you creating for the public to understand that you have access to this? You don't even need to come personally. Just send us a message or a call and we can follow up on.
So far, people are getting aware. People are becoming aware, and they call. Sometimes you hear them scream, and then you have to call them. Sometimes they try to call you. They don't have credit because they are poor, and you have to call them. Back. So the awareness is there. It's growing, but we have to do more. Yeah. We have to sensitize the public. What more public enlightenment should be?
Let me go back to that example you gave, because I think it's important for us to talk about it. Something happened in a school. Do you really think naming and shaming the school is the way to go, especially if you consider the fact that there are other children in that school? I'm just thinking from all the different sides. If we remove the child and arrest the perpetrator, maybe he's a teacher or the school was negligent, and we find a way to ensure the school pays, but do it silently such that the other children's future are not affected by this situation. Is that the right way to think? Because I'm thinking of why a mother would say, please, don't mention the school's name. Or do you think it's better for us to name and shame the entire school, let them take responsibility for what happened, and that would then affect all the other children? And
How? I think we should name and shame. Okay. And I think the government should be involved. I mean, it's not just to name and shame. When people are involved, powers that be are involved, you see that, justice is served.
Right.
So it's not just to name them and then somebody comes to debunk the allegation. It's for it to be followed through, you know. So, I mean, going back to your question, why shouldn't we do that? What of others that have been suffering? For children to break the inhibition of going to molest another child, gang rape, and do you know what that means?
Wow.
Do you know what that means? Maybe they're into substance abuse, because it takes a bold person to do that. It takes so much to do that. So we should name and shame these people, and then bring out the victims. Sorry, the perpetrators.
One of the biggest another challenge we have in this scheme is that evidence cannot be gathered well.
Yes.
And because there's no evidence, and you cannot, it's your word against mine.
Exactly.
Most of the cases get stalled, even when they even pursue the case. And then the parents get tired of going to the courts, adjournment, all of that. What is the advocacy towards getting the law changed to make it easy for cases involving sexual abuse to be tried better?
I think we should just throw it out there to the government to enact laws that will make sure that prosecution comes fast. And so they don't keep stalling and postponing, and before you know it, it has gone into oblivion, and then it's moribund, and nobody talks about it anymore. Let's talk about Ochaya, the 13-year-old that was molested by her uncle and his son. How far have we gone with the case? So I can go on and on. How about this Baba Elisha? I can go on, Ijesha. I can go on and on. I mean, we make noise, and you don't blame the public. They try. After that, everything just
moves on.
So I think there should be that continuity. The government is a multi-sectoral thing. Everyone should be a part of it. The voiceless should, the people that have a voice should come out and be the voice for the voiceless.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Nimi. It's always a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
That's all we can take on this segment. When we come back, move on to other topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.